thousands of years, the power of water was harnessed by human beings to fuel our machines and innovation. Now in the 21st century, this still remains true. For Asheville, North Carolina, the Hythe Branch is one such source of sustenance and energy. And while reliance on the river has lessened in years, its legacy is still highly visible. This is the site of a former hydroelectric power station. It is also the current home of Asheville's water treatment facility. And what's that just behind the tree line? Could it be? I think it is. Train tracks! Without hesitation, I hopped in the Flowrider and began my journey. Soon, old and derelict train tracks appeared to parallel the road on my right-hand side, further intriguing me. My intrigue grew ever further when I stumbled upon this abandoned derelict cut of 3 freight cars. Anchoring this little ensemble is a Norfolk Southern hopper car, which in turn is flanked by the most decrepit-looking tank car I've ever seen. I certainly hope it's not filled. Spurred on by our discovery, I drove for a few more minutes and bam! There it was, the mighty Norfolk Southern West Yard in Asheville, North Carolina. Located on the Norfolk Southern S-Line, this expansive facility features a flat switching yard, maintenance centers, and plenty of storage space for derelict equipment. Most importantly, however, the yard features live, active trains like this one. Locomotive 7118 is performing standard yard operations, shuffling large cuts of covered hopper cars to and from a nearby industry. The aged GP60 moves confidently up and down the line. Even though I've seen this type of locomotive many a time before, there is still a thrill in watching a train, old or new, operate in a new and exciting place. As expected, the Norfolk Southern clearly defined the places that I, as a rail fan, could and could not go safely. Adjacent to the no trespassing sign is some of Norfolk Southern's famed iconography, the Thoroughbred. Representing power and speed, it's also a nod to the term Iron Horse when referring to trains. Off yonder rises the West Yard Yard Tower, affording dispatch a helpful eye in the sky. It assists in yard moves and train buildings. This is a feature that Greenville Yard could stand to benefit from. Well, it looks like there's someone in that tower giving instructions. They just allowed this local to push back into its industry and pick up more hopper cars. Entering service in the year 1991, this GP60 has been serving the NS faithfully for around 30 years, and hopefully, with a rebuild or two, it will be able to serve the NS faithfully for many more. These locomotives are the true thoroughbreds of the Norfolk Southern Railway. About a mile up the road on Riverside Drive, one will find this derelict and abandoned industry, just begging to be filmed. And there's something else begging to be filmed on the opposite side of this industry: trains. Welcome to the home of the Blue Ridge Southern Railway, a humble North Carolina-based Class 3. The Blue Ridge Southern operates former Norfolk Southern lines based around Asheville. Today's cargo would make even the largest of playgrounds blush. Large gondolas filled to the brim with wood chips, almost certainly bound for a pulp mill or some other wood-related industry down the line. These gondolas really give you perspective on just how much material can be hauled by a single rail car. Back home in Greenville, we see lots of covered hopper cars, tank cars, and intermodal containers, all enclosed spaces, and all far less impressive than these open-topped gondolas filled with wood chips. One final car of wood chips passed me by before I had to make a difficult decision. Do I chase this train in unfamiliar territory, or do I let this be a victory on its own? Well, I couldn't resist, so I hopped back in my car and made chase. Unfortunately, my unfamiliarity with the region's roadways meant that I was just a wee bit too late to catch this train crossing the bridge. It's undoubtedly making its way to a very eager lumber-based customer. And sadly, I too must also be making my way to my next destination. I am needed elsewhere in Asheville, and unfortunately, I'll have to leave the trains behind. But what a fruitful little chase this was. We saw a new railroad and an old friend. Before I depart, I just wanted to take a moment to share this bridge with you viewers at home. Derelict, decrepit, covered in graffiti, this is a classic piece of railroad Americana in the 21st century. Here we also see the beginnings of that long abandoned piece of train track that we followed to get to the yard in the first place. What looks to be an old industrial spur feeding Riverside Industries, it is now surrounded completely by commercial properties such as this O'Reilly Auto Parts store. This track extends for miles, bisecting hundreds of parking lots along its way. This track will also act as my guiding beacon back towards the center city of Asheville and my next destination. I wish you all well, and until our paths cross again.